Our next guest is among those MPs not returning to cabinet. Nathaniel-Erskine Smith is an Ontario Liberal MP and the former Minister of Housing, Infrastructure and Communities. It's good to see you, sir. Thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good to be here.
I want to start with the social media post that you put up yesterday saying that it's impossible not to feel disrespected, and the way this all played out doesn't sit right. What do you mean by that?
Well, first, people should know, because everything gets taken out of context sometimes in politics, and I know Canadian politics is missing some of the melodrama from the U.S., so people are searching for it sometimes. But it was a bigger social media post, really, about congratulating Prime Minister Carney and the new cabinet and wishing them every success, and saying I wish the new minister well, and I especially seeing some older colleagues who have not been recognized, I think, over the years in quite the same way. It's great to see some of them around the cabinet table and congratulating colleagues old and new. And then it was a bit more of a personal reflection to say, yeah, of course, frustrated. I changed my life around. I wasn't going to run again initially, and there was this opportunity to make an even bigger difference on a file that I see as the biggest challenge this country faces, apart from Canada-US, is the generational challenge of housing. And so there was an opportunity to make the biggest difference, and to be appointed in December and then reappointed in March, and to travel across the province to over 20 ridings in the election. Yeah, I mean, I think any human, I said this morning, politicians are humans too. I think anyone's going to feel some disrespect and frustration. But look, overwhelmingly, I wish the government well, and I'm going to contribute to its success.
Were you given an explanation? I would assume that the Prime Minister gave you a call when he told you. I don't know if it was him or if it was a staff person. Were you given an explanation by Mr. Carney or anyone else why the change?
Yeah, I mean, there are many factors, obviously, that go into cabinet decision-making process, and there are no guarantees in this. I know that too. And so it was really a consequence of they had someone tap, the new minister, that they were really looking forward to contributing, and thought he would be best placed in that file. And then, there are all sorts of considerations, regional, geographic, different backgrounds, and, many of us, frankly, look in caucus. There's lots of talented people in caucus, and I wasn't the only one. So many talented people don't make the cut, and lots of reasons go into it.
So I guess you were enticed to change your retirement plans. A lot of members of the caucus changed their retirement plans over the course of the last 6 months. Weren't going to run, now ran again. You were out until you were kind of talked back.
Although I joke, but David,
yeah.
I joke though. I was joking. I came back when we were in the basement.
Yes, you bought on the dip. There's no question about it, right? You were not. You can never be accused of opportunism. I would suggest on your decision.
I only make bad decisions. I only make bad decisions.
Well, I mean, so what bad decision do you make now, right? Because you'd said you were getting ready to retire and maybe do something else, like, well, not retire, but move on from being a member of parliament. Yeah. Are you going to stick around even though you're not in that role that sort of was the incentive to make that difference and stay on as a federal politician?
Well, as I wrote, you never know what the future holds. But my focus right now is serving my community. I've been lucky to represent Beaches East York since 2015. I like to think I've done a decent job of it at times, and I hope to get back to standing up and serving my community in every possible way. I'm also, I haven't recorded an Uncommons podcast since before I became a minister. I'm looking forward to restarting that and engaging in deeper policy discussions. And
no one cares.
I loved a sense of freedom before becoming a cabinet minister, and I look forward to continuing to speak my mind on behalf of my community.
It was interesting. I once referred to you on the show as a podcaster, and I got this email telling me how disrespectful I was being. I was like, I don't think he thinks it's an insult, and clearly you don't. So look, Gregor.
And on that, but just on that, like there are, the trite sort of thing is there's no bad seat in the House of Commons, but it's true, and we all want to make the biggest difference we can. I mean, that's why I was frustrated. There's a bigger difference you can make, certainly in the role that I had for those 4 months. I'm mostly disappointed, frankly, that I don't get to continue to make a difference at the level and build on the progress you're making. But I have confidence the government will continue. I have confidence the new minister will continue in that fashion. I think we will, and we'll be judged by the results, not by individual cabinet selections in the end. But the whole point of politics is to shape ideas and to make our politics about ideas, and that's what I'm going to do.
Right. So Gregor Robertson, who is the person who was picked for the portfolio you were in, he was here last night. He's been speaking to reporters today. He said a couple of things. It's not necessarily about bringing prices down. I think he's trying to reassure people who own homes that it's not government policy to kind of collapse the value of their asset, but he wants to get more below market and non-market housing into the system and just boost supply overall. I mean, what advice would you have for Minister Robertson, and what do you make of the agenda that he sort of articulated in the last 24 hours and the policy that Mr. Carney put forward in the campaign?
Well, look, I said this in my post yesterday, too, that the housing portfolio is, of course, more than one person, and many people contributed to our ambitious housing platform. And I have every confidence that, he had a huge role to play in contributing to that. And at the end of the day, we have to control what we can control. And that's not home prices. That is making sure we remove all barriers to unleash the market. It's to make sure that we double down on efforts to build up community housing, because we walked away from that there was a bipartisan neglect over decades on that front. And we've got to double down on our recent efforts in that regard. And we've got to make sure we address chronic homelessness and we treat housing as a home first and investment second. There are lots of things we need to do. And look, I'm going to be someone who's going to support the government in the course of this file. Look, I can have a personal frustration, but housing and that generational challenge needs to be solved, and we need to do everything we can to solve it. And I want to contribute in a positive way.
Right. So you said you don't know what the future holds, or words to that effect. You had in the past sought the Ontario Liberal leadership running against Bonnie Crombie. She had a mixed result in the last election, I would say, getting back to party status, but not winning her seat. Is that in the cards? If that job were to come open again, is that something you still have on your potential to-do list, sir?
I mean, there will be a leadership review in the fall, and who knows what the results of that will be. And, Crombie has said that she wants to stay, and she'll, be able to put herself up, and the members will judge. And look, from there, of course, at the end of the day, who joins politics for any other reason other than to make the biggest difference they can? And there's a huge opportunity to make a difference at the provincial level, but it remains to be seen. Who knows? Who knows? At the moment, to be honest, what I'm focused on is getting to my 5-year-old's baseball game tonight, getting to my 8-year-old's baseball game next week, and being a good coach.
Right. Okay. And so, but in the short term, just to put that last little bit of context around your tweet thread, because I'm not trying to create U.S. drama here, right? I want to make sure, there's no resignation, there's no sitting as an independent, there's no leaving the Liberal caucus.
No.
It's personal frustration, but you're going to be the team player you were, like your 5 and your 8-year-old boys in baseball. You want to be the team player you were beforehand.
Yeah. I mean, look, there are people who accuse me of not being a team player as a member of parliament when I would speak my mind and disagree with the government. I like to think I always did so in a respectful way and made our politics about ideas and pushed the government to be the best version of itself. And everyone's got a different role to play. Whether they're in cabinet, there's a particular role to play. If they're in the backbench, there's a particular role to play. If you're a Liberal member, there's a particular role to play. And I consider the role of an individual member of parliament is to push the government to be the best version of itself, and in a respectful way. And that's what I'm going to do. But I hope people pause and don't take things out of context with one sentence out of an overall statement. I mean, to be generous here, I mean, that overall statement I hope was positive. And just note for certain colleagues, I mean, there are great people around the cabinet table. I mean, my riding neighbor Julie DeBruzen is going to be an excellent minister of the environment, and we should hold on to those good stories, I think.
Okay. Well, look, this is why we wanted to have you on, because we wanted the context and we wanted the explanation. We appreciate it.
I'm sorry I didn't provide the soap opera that you were maybe hoping for. I don't know. But look, I wish the government every success.
Matt, good conversation and clarity. That's what I want on this show. So thanks for doing that, sir. We appreciate it. It's Nathaniel-Erskine Smith, who's got to get to baseball. Thank you, sir, for taking the time.